YouTube. My name is John B, and this is the Christian Geek. We explore geek culture and how it relates to faith and Christianity. And today we're going to talk about the final episode of WandaVision. Are you excited as I was? Super. It was such a enjoyable show. It felt like almost like a film. So we're going to talk about it, talk about what happened, what my reactions were, and of course, we're also going to talk about theories, what's going to happen next. Because definitely, if you watch the series, there is so much more to unpack. Together with me tonight, I am joined by one of my good friends, James Michael Fabros. Say hi, bro. Are you there? Yes.
Hello.
Ayun. So maybe, James, can you kinda introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, hi YouTube. So it's my first time on YouTube. Hi. So I am very, very happy and blessed, and it's a privilege for me to be here with the Christian Geek himself and to be able to share with you a lot of things about the MCU, Christianity, and Marvel in general. So I'm very happy to be in my Marvel getup with my geeky Star Wars mug because I don't have a Marvel mug yet. So dito muna Star Wars muna mug.
I feel underdressed. He's got the Doctor Strange shirt, which is so appropriate, and he's got a Marvel cap on. So I feel a little bit underdressed. Well, at least I have this background. But obviously, if you realize this isn't real, I hope this was, but it isn't. But anyway, so thanks, James. So today we're gonna talk about WandaVision and our reactions because, wow, right? Wow. I think there's wow. That I mean, there's after watching, it's like, let me watch that again.
I wanted to watch. We were binging the whole series again after watching the final episode. Like, oh, there's so much to go back to.
Exactly, because after watching that watching that last episode, suddenly all the things that you saw in the previous scene start making sense. Personally, it was amazing, and it's so bingeable because it's like less than 30 minutes, except for the bingeable. I remember sitting a few friends of it from episodes 5 to 8, and it's like, oh, it's already done after a few hours. So it's really fast, right? So what is WandaVision? So for those who haven't watched this show, aren't you watching? So you should be watching this show if you haven't watched it yet. Why not, right? But give you a quick overview or recap, and this is your spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched it yet, pause this video, watch WandaVision, then come back. If you don't care about spoilers, go right ahead. So with WandaVision, in the past, WandaVision is basically a series, a limited series that's designed to actually connect the MCU with the next projects of MCU, specifically with the Multiverse of Madness of Doctor Strange, and most likely Spider-Man Far From Home. Still looking at how that's going to be connected, but definitely Strange. A 9-episode show, and it started with Wanda and Vision living in the 50s for some reason in black and white TV. No one actually explained what was going on, and I think, don't know if about you, James, but it had the vibe in it where it felt like a cross between those 50s and 60s comedy shows with the Twilight, where you're laughing with the comedy, and then but there's something wrong. There's something creepy going on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of references to like show, if you're familiar. The Witch, which is one of my favorite old school shows, right? Starts with that, but there is something going on in the background. You're trying to figure it out. It's like a mystery that you're trying to figure it out. And it does have highlight zones, and it goes on until you reach episode 4, where you discover that this was a world inside of a small town, and everybody else outside of the town are trying to on. I think this is our first foray or first organization, Sword. If you're not familiar with Sword, comic book, Sword was the counterpart of Shield. While Shield operated on Earth, Sword usually operated in space, and it's normally connected to Captain Marvel comics. So normally you would actually see that with Captain Marvel, and we actually have a version of Captain Marvel in this show, right, James?
Yes, exciting. Her debut was here, and she had a very good debut.
Exactly. But of course, this is the MCU, so we have a different version of Sword here. And Sword here stands for the Sentient on Observation and Response Division. So basically what they're doing, looking at sentient weapons. Vision, right? So Vision is one of the characters that they are actually investigating because they want to basically the idea is they want to control sentient weapons, right? And so, but because we see this one on the Vision, and we see the Vision inside the Hex, supposedly dead because if remember, and actually Darcy mentions that he wasn't just blip, right? He's dead. Right? So yeah, and we get introduced to the original female Captain Marvel, which was actually Monica Rambeau in the comics before it was taken over by Carol Danvers. And we get introduced to two minor characters, but actually I think they became a darling of the show. Jimmy Woo, Agent Jimmy Woo, which initially appeared in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then we have Darcy Lewis, which initially appeared in Thor. And if I remember correctly, she was a political science or public administration graduate.
Yeah.
And now she has a doctorate in astrophysics. So,
Yep.
actually very, very smart.
Good for Darcy. Good for Darcy.
Yes. So, and of course, we're always for women empowerment here. Anyway, we see characters and they're trying to also investigate what's going on. Then we also get introduced to the director of Sword, or acting director of Sword, Tyler Hayward. And we kind of feel at the beginning that he's manipulating things. Well, he's planning something, but we don't know. So throughout the show, we see this as things unfold, and we actually get to see a few other characters within the Hex, and one specific character which I think has endeared a lot of people is Agnes, right? Which it was Agatha all along.
I still love that song. I love that song.
I know, it's so catchy, right? That reveal was one of the best reveals I've ever seen. I think everybody knew that Agnes was Agatha Harkness, right? But when the reveal came out, it's like, wow. It's just like, wow. Okay, that was actually a very good reveal.
Yeah, and they revealed it in such a fun way, like so enjoyable to see another sitcom comedy trope with her behind the scenes every time. So that was really cool.
Actually, it was pretty cool, and I think it's a great reimagining of character of Agatha Harkness, which in the comics was initially created or initially appeared as Wanda's mentor, right?
Yeah.
Some elements of that here. So see that she was also actually a character that was deeply connected to Mephisto. And so there was a lot of theories. I was one of them theorizing that Mephisto's gonna appear here. But yeah. Unfortunately, episode 9 rolled in. Here we go. So this is where we are, episode 9. We finally see the conclusion to everything on WandaVision. And I guess first thing that I want to ask is, what did you think? What was your reaction to that final episode of WandaVision?
Did I think? That's a very good question. Like, I cried. I honestly did cry at the end of the episode. Of course, I think we'll talk about that later on. But it was intense. It was wonderfully written. It did a lot of things were revealed, were killed a lot of fan theories, like buried all the fan theories away. But it was such a fun episode. But at the core of it, I think most my most personal reaction was really how they handled Wanda and Vision's story. That was really touching for me. At the end of the day, no matter what they're building up, it was Wanda and Vision's love story, which for me right now, even comparing it to all the other love stories that the MCU has done, is the best for me. I am big Captain America fan, Doctor Strange fan, and Iron Man and Pepper, but this hit all the right issues, but it was different.
Out. Yeah. Yeah. I think I really think it's one of the best development of characters I've seen in the MCU compared to most other characters. So I think they had the benefit of character development because the TV series, unlike in the movie, you just have a few hours, like an hour and a half, to really develop your characters before to the final act. Right. So compared to the past characters, I think the story between Wanda and Vision fully developed here. We saw bits and pieces of that in Avengers and in Civil War, but it really blossomed, I guess, in WandaVision. I like how really how the writers really did a good job in fleshing out who Wanda is, who Vision is, what their motivations are, what are the things that are going on in their lives, and it almost makes you forget that, like for example, it almost makes you forget that the Vision isn't even really the Vision. He isn't really the real Vision, and construct made out of the reality that Wanda created. It makes you forget that they were so done well. The characters were so done well. I think Paul Bettany acting of Elizabeth Olsen just did them justice. Characters justice. Point that you really fall in love with the characters. And by the end, you feel emotionally invested with them, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of the show. That it had good writing, had good acting. I think all the characters most of the characters, they made you really feel like you are invested in them. Even in the character of Tyler Haywood, which was the quote unquote villain of the show, you felt annoyed by him. You felt like you wanted to, do something about him. Even the small parts where Darcy and Jimmy Woo had, they had small parts in the show, but they had such a huge impact that people are even clamoring to have like an Agents of Sword where you have Darcy Lewis and Jimmy Woo playing as characters. Right?
I'm one of them. I would love to see more of Jimmy Woo. I loved him. He was so amazing. And Darcy.
I think if they want to reboot the Agents of Shield franchise, they can do an Agents of Sword instead, and then you put Darcy there, you put Jimmy Woo, and then you cast a bunch of other characters, and maybe you could have cameos with Monica in there, right? So I mean, I would be all for that as well. So, what did you think really about the reveal with Agatha Harkness in this episode? What did you think about him? Because I think there was a deviation from her character in the comic books compared to here in WandaVision.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that she's not an old woman. They kept the color scheme. She had purple a lot in the comics, so that was interesting. But it was such a very interesting direction. Again, I applaud Marvel. First of all, this was their first of the one-shot miniseries style. No, they had series before, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as you said. And they dabbled a bit, but now they're doing these new projects of the miniseries that will directly tie into or build up the movies. And I'm sure it was a risk. I'm sure at first it was a risk, but fans really just wanted more Marvel. So it was really nice. And now we get, with Agatha, we get to see more of how that risk-taking reveal is really brought up, because you see a witchcraft, because magic was introduced in Doctor Strange in a very different way, right? It was the use of the energy from the multiverse. So basically, magicians were like scientists to different energy sources. But now we get to see traditional magic. When we got Agatha's backstory, it was the Salem Witch Trials, which is a horrible, horrible part of history. I've seen more about it recently, but it was so interesting because they were even chanting in Latin. They had to do spells like old school magic spells, which you've never seen in Doctor Strange. So I'm excited for it because now we get to see both interact, possibly in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
So, did you think, how did you think of Agatha's portrayal? Because personally, as I was watching it, well, the big reveal in episode 7, where it was Agatha all along, made it seem like she was the big bad villain. Honestly, even when I was watching episode 9, I didn't feel like she was so much of a villain, but someone who is also, after years of centuries, even, of being alone, having all this power, it's kind of like corrupted by the power. But it's not. I didn't get the feeling that it was really that big bad villain, like compared to most Marvel.
Yeah, I agree. I actually still, until now, I am also with you there in the Mephisto hype train, or Catan. There's Catan, who is
Yeah.
referenced from the Darkhold. So the book she had, the book where she was directly referencing about Wanda, is from Catan. So yeah, I didn't get the feeling that she was all the big bad. I was still waiting for that, who was behind the scenes, like maybe someone was encouraging her, someone directed her, or after those centuries, who was she working with? Like, how was she learning more magic? Like, who corrupted her in the first place? That was my big question. Like, she was corrupted, right? And she was dabbling in dark magic. That's why she was punished by her coven. But who introduced her into dark magic? How did she find out and learn more, or learn those spells that she can do? So I still think they're holding off. She's not dead, so we could still see her face her master. Like, ooh.
I think that's where, yeah, you mentioned Kathan. Kathan was the one who put his essence into Darkhold, right?
Yeah.
And whoever, and we've seen, if you've watched Agents of Shield, they actually already have a version of Kathan there, rather the Darkhold there. Well, we've confirmed that Agents of Shield runs on a different reality, so from the main MCU. But the way that the Darkhold was portrayed there, and it's usually the same way that Darkhold was portrayed in comics, is that anyone who actually had access to the Darkhold could easily be corrupted by the power of Cthulhu, the demonic powers from that Elder God. So, the way I see it, even in the reveal with Agatha, and that flashback scene in 1693, I think, it sounded like got manipulated when had access to the book. Whether it was she was called like normally with occultic things, you hear voices or whatever, and then she opened the book or something, or whether herself just was ambitious and decided to open the book, and she got corrupted. It gave me that sense that she was corrupted, she was being manipulated. So in all of this moving forward, it seemed like her desire to gain more power comes from someplace else. It didn't strike me as it was Agnes who wanted that, or Agatha wanted that power. It struck me as somebody else wants all that power and was using Agatha as a tool or a vessel to collect all that power.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that you said we didn't really, aside from wanting power, we didn't get any other motivation from her. Like, I don't think Marvel would ever go that shallow with their characters or villains. Like, it's all for the power, give me everything, and then she blows up. we never got that why did she need all that power, and she kept warning Wanda, you have no idea what you've done. There's something there. There's those subtle clues.
Yeah, and I think
More.
one thing that got me on board or and trying to side with Agatha was episode 8. She acted like a grief counselor in the show. I mean, seriously, if you look at episode 8, oh, that looks like she's counseling with Wanda, right?
Yeah, as someone who I have a psychology degree from college, so basically I'm a counselor right now. So I was really getting old. That's a really good method. So you really have to go through the process and past traumas. You have to go deep and deep and deep when dealing with psychological pain. So I think that really made sense actually.
And personally, I felt like watching episode 8 felt like such a good refresher. I felt like Wanda had to go through the pain has been trying to hide from, because obviously she's been trying to hide from that pain, from the grief that she's experiencing. As I mentioned in my previous video, you will see that is really escaping from her reality. You know, Wanda was really escaping from her reality. That really deal with the grief has happened in her life. It didn't seem like she handled the of her parents dying. It didn't seem, and when Pietro died, he automatically went into the Avengers and started fighting for the Avengers. And then with Vision died twice, right? In that scene. I mean, in that short time period, he died twice. And before she could really grieve his death, she got blipped too. Never actually went through a grieving process. I think if she stayed and she didn't get blipped, maybe she could have processed the grief that she went through with what, etc. You know, maybe Captain America would have been her grief counselor. We could see that he was doing, group therapy, right? So,
She would be in the circle with the directors, with the Russo, with one of the Russo brothers.
But you know, she got blipped, and we know that everybody that got blipped time stood still for them. Time did not move on. So obviously, whatever she was experiencing when she got blipped, when she came back, still what she was experiencing. So, and we know the timeline for this. It's like 3 weeks after the end of Endgame, where people got blipped back. So I see that, you know, Wanda never really got to process all that pain and experience. And honestly, I felt so sorry for her, because going through episode 8, I felt like, wow, such intense pain, such intense. But I love the line that in episode. I love the line where Vision says, "What is grief if not love persevering?" I think that was a beautiful line.
Trending all over the world and t-shirts right now. I think that's very true, especially since if you think about it, a lot of people got their loved ones back because of the blip, right? Because of the return blip. When everyone came back, Vision didn't. So imagine her pain and her agony even more intensified by seeing loved ones reunited. Like in the montage at Endgame, you see Wakanda, you see Hawkeye and his family. Everyone got reunited with their loved one. Vision is sitting in a government lab somewhere being dissected.
So I saw how Agnes, in the end, though still presented as a villain, it seemed like, oh, it was a grief counselor. So she was helping Wanda out, actually discover her pain and her loss. So it was under the guise of actually finding out where the power was coming from. But you know, power was in Wanda all along. So so having said that, another aspect from this last episode that really was kind of really fight between white vision or spectral vision, X vision. What do you think about it?
That was really a very philosophical fight. Like, it started with I like one of the reviews I was able to catch up on it. Like, it started like a Superman versus Superman fight with the cape and the flying and the super strength, and the instead of the like heat vision here, they had their forehead lasers, but with phasing and stuff. It was very beautiful since they could go toe to toe and they had the exact same powers. Sadly, I am sad with Sword. They didn't give him additional powers so he could have an advantage. But it was really nice, especially how they ended it with like the question of which one is real, or how do you know what is real?
Yeah,
with the paradox we talked about.
Actually, I found it funny that suddenly they're staring off each other and like talking about the ship of Theseus and what's happening. Elaborate, yeah, right. So, but what do you think happened to White Vision actually? We see in the episode that X Vision kind of restored his memories, but he suddenly just flew away. I was kind of thinking that with his memories back, he would remember his time with Wanda.
I was expecting him to back her up too. I was waiting for him to go like Jubug. He punches Agnes in the face and then blasts her with his new laser. But yeah, I think he still is searching. I think there's still a missing part of him processing who he is now. Especially since if you think about it, he has the memories now. He has the synthesoid body and everything. But the part of him which was the Mind Stone, which maybe influences emotions or his transformation into more of a human entity. Maybe that was part of why he had to go away, or they're gonna stave off his storyline. Because if we go back to one of the things Wanda said, she said, "You're the part of the Mind Stone that lives in me." So she could release that part of the Mind Stone. Like, it was the only thing that was yellow when she released all her magic. If you notice, so maybe it's something that will part of Vision that she will reunite in White Vision, and he'll get color again. So that's my theory. That's my personal observation from that. Because why would she mention that the Mind Stone's part of her could be separated, or that she could separate that part of her, which is the Vision, because he is also part of the Mind Stone. So I think that's something they're staving off.
I honestly was expecting that this White Vision would absorb the Hex Vision.
Yeah, I was also looking at Fusion, a Dragon Ball reference. For, kids out there who don't know anymore Dragon Ball, I'm so sorry, but yeah, Dragon Ball reference, Fusion, and then it would become One Vision. And it looked like a zebra because it sounds white.
I was really expecting that because I think in the comic books, one storyline, Spectral Vision was absorbed a version of Vision from another reality. If I remember my comic book right, comic book storylines correctly, and that's what restored him back to being Vision, or at least a version of Vision that Wanda remembers. Because if I remember as well, the Spectral Vision or the White Vision in the comic books was basically a soulless automaton. Right? It's a soulless robot. And this was what it seemed like at the beginning. Spectral Vision seemed like a soulless robot who had only orders to kill and destroy.
With his weird smirk, that smirk at the side of his mouth, just to make him look a bit different than Paul Bettany. That was really funny.
I think Paul Bettany did a good job in being able to play two different versions of because his mannerisms, the way he acted, how it's White Vision versus the Hex Vision played out, they really have two different personalities.
Yeah.
They did a good job in really making sure that these two characters are different. They might be played by the same actor, but they're different characters.
Yes, he did amazing. Like, especially looking back at how this was almost the end of his career when he shared a story way back before he became Vision, which saved his career. I am so glad that he got his career back with Vision. He's been good. He has the confusion in his mind, the innocence, having that innocence and confused, but all at the same time, all-knowing machine type of vibe. He was able to really bring that.
Yeah, I think this is not the end for Paul Bettany. I think that there's going to be a lot more Vision in the coming MCU episodes. I personally can see Vision mentor to the Young Avengers when they actually form, because I think that's in the works. We already have a preview with Wiccan and Speed, right? And we will be introducing, I believe, Miss Marvel in the next Captain Marvel, and I think a few other younger Avengers are going to be introduced.
Miss Marvel's gonna have her own series, Kamala Khan.
Right, and so it's an exciting thing for MCU, an exciting thing for Marvel. I just honestly, to be honest, guys, I'm a DC fan. I'm a really big DC fan versus Marvel. I really wish DC could do the same thing, but yeah, I wish they could build the world the way that Marvel is building the world. And honestly, I think
fingers crossed for Snyder Cut. You never know.
to be fair, I'm waiting for the Snyder Cut. To be fair, actually, the Marvel Cinematic Universe survived the Marvel Comics line, because compared to in popularity in comics, DC has always more popular. I think apart from the X-Men franchise, because but generally speaking, DC is normally more popular in sales, and familiarity in characters than Marvel ever was, and so the Marvel Cinematic Universe did a good job vitalizing the comic line for Marvel. I really believe that. Caused a lot of people to investigate more about Marvel. I mean, now I know more Marvel Marvel Universe storylines than I've ever known in my entire life, because I wasn't really a big Marvel fan before, right? But the world building has been done well. WandaVision is just a testament to that. I think it's the best. I honestly believe it is the best or most well done Marvel's franchise so far, compared to most of the stuff that has been released. I would even say it's better done than Avengers Endgame, in the mere fact that the story and the writing was done really well, and the actors they really played their part. And I think it's because characters are more targeted, where in the Avengers storyline, so many characters, so many big players that are technically vying for your attention, right? So I think that's why I think WandaVision did particularly well hitting its story, because you have characters here that you had a lot of time to develop the character, and for me, that's the best thing about world building, is developing characters.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's also one of my top 10 right now. I have never thought that I would love the TV shows they presented this much. And WandaVision really stepped up the game in terms of TV shows that, like, there's a high bar right now for the rest of the shows coming out. Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, there's so much still coming out, but bar is set high now.
And Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the next on the block. And so, but I don't think though that we're seeing anything in connection to WandaVision and Falcon, a different storyline. However, I'm hoping Loki will reference WandaVision, because there is a possibility that the TVA was also monitoring Wanda. Because if you remember the comics, the TVA or the Time Variance Authority monitors Nexus beings. They monitor realities, right? So I'm hoping that there is even just a small hint or small reference to Wanda there.
We get to see all of them unite once again. But I'm excited. Yeah, Loki is really gonna be interesting since they haven't really said. I state that would build up towards Thor: Love and Thunder or Multiverse of Madness. So like, there's still that mystery where Loki is in the whole cinematic picture.
Yeah, I agree with that. So something to look forward to. Maybe it's in April or big date. But yeah, I have a question. How disappointed were you to discover that there are no mutants here? I was disappointed, to be honest.
Me too. Honestly, I was waiting for my Hugh Jackman to come back. Wolverine. Patrick Stewart too, if ever. But I was like, especially since I'm not sure how true the quotation is that if Wolverine would ever be brought back into, would be brought into the Avengers, Hugh Jackman would be willing to reprise his roles. I don't know how true that is. I've heard of it, but I was waiting for that X-Men reference. And then when we got the actual reveal for Mr. Ralph and that red herring,
I was so annoyed.
Okay, Marvel.
It's like it was like they shoehorned that reference, that boner joke. Ralph Boner. He goes like that and like, what? That was it?
It was a very good tease. I applaud Marvel for really getting the fans riled up. Like, everyone was waiting for that X-Men reveal in the end, or mutant reveal, or even a reference. Like, people are still forcing her new costume to parallel Magneto's. So
they actually never revealed whether or not Ralph was actually the witness, the guy in witness protection. One that because I felt like he might have been the one, though they never really revealed it. And, what's his face? Agatha imbued Ralph with powers. I honestly though, I thought the way that Ralph was talking about himself as Pietro, he was saying that he just heard your voice and so I'm suddenly here. I thought it was really Wanda who manifested Ralph, and then Agatha was the one who, manipulated the look of Ralph so that it looks different.
Pulling the strings.
Yes, we see. And she was just going like this, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh come on! After all that, it was just
rumors of a mutant movie is coming out, but I don't know if it's true as well. Maybe it's still misdirection, since we have no confirmation. No, at least as far as I know until now, there's no confirmation yet of the mutants. Marvel owns them now, so of course I'm sure they'll appear somewhere along the line. The Fantastic Four got their official announcement first.
They already have what's that? Let's see, the franchise, the it's already running. Yeah. So that with something that's happening in the future, it's not in line with the current timeline of MCU. I was kind of hoping actually that it's going to be like a reverse House of M storyline instead of Wanda saying no more mutants. Wanda summons the mutants. I even thought that one way for the mutants to come in was people walking into the hex. Because that's what happened to Monica, right? It's like a latent mutant gene was activated in Monica for going through through the barrier.
Yeah, or it could have been like, I was waiting for Wanda to just expand the hex all over the world from it, and then have powers now, so that no one would bother her anymore.
I was thinking that was going to happen. The entire hex will just
Then
expand
it becomes
throughout
My
the
Hero
entire...
Academia. Yeah, everyone has powers. It's a superhero society now. Because everyone
I
has
was-
superpowers.
I recently read or rather heard a other theory which I kind of like. Another witch in the MCU. What her name? Jones was her name. One with yellow witch powers. I forgot what her name. And on this, I think it was film theory. If you watch film, theorized that maybe the third witch is Dottie Jones. Dottie, who was portraying another character there, and reason for that is the main theory, which is a bit of a stretch. Was introduced as someone who is so important about in Westview, and now, for example, the witches in Westview, Wanda had red and pink bush, pink rose, signify the color of her powers. Agatha had purple flowers, signifying her purple and then Dottie actually at one scene was seen with yellow flowers in her bushes, and it was mentioned that her roses or her flowers are like pride of the entire town or something. So I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool. Could have been a cool, but it didn't really come out. Right? What did you think about the ending, though? The episode.
What did I think about the ending? So I think it's okay not to reveal this. That it was about the origin of the Scarlet Witch. Sorry, I had to really use this prop. But yeah, I think origin of the Scarlet Witch. We finally get to see her in a more modern-esque look, her comic book version. I think it's an amazing setup for Wanda and for going to Multiverse of Madness. To be honest though, I do agree with some of the theories or reviews I've watched that if you think about it, she is still towing the line between hero and villain. She's still there in between. Like, she accepts it. I'm afraid of that danger of her accepting that she is seen as a bad guy in certain instances right now. Like in Westview, there was no clear reconciliation between her and the people of Westview. She knows that no matter what she says, she's the villain in their eyes. So what if that possibly influences? Because there are still hints or nuances towards her becoming a villain or even an anti-hero maybe in the MCU. So I'm excited for her character. I'm excited where they bring her, because especially we don't know the danger of using the Darkhold, or what kind of effect it'll have on her without any guidance or training. Because I was waiting for Doctor Strange to appear in that cabin. Like, it was Doctor Strange. They're hanging out. They're having tea. But no, it's her astral form, and she's studying the Darkhold now. So she's gonna be in touch with her powers. Plus, maybe there's a connection to them hinting or them stating that she's gonna be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. So that's really scary. I am so excited, especially since Multiverse of Madness will be the first horror genre film from Marvel. So I think that they could really do a lot with her power, but maybe in a very scary way. So I love the ending. Although, again, tearjerker, I cried at the goodbye. It was such a beautiful goodbye, though, going back to WandaVision. So it really did end as a story for them. And it really did come out as when everything got swept away, the Hex was gone and all that stuff. It was all about her grief again, how she had gone through that form of therapy, as you stated earlier. It was a form of therapy, it was a form of counseling in a magical way. And now she has to carry or continue that process. Of course, as a counselor, you always say to someone who's going through something, especially with mental health, it's a process. It doesn't end with one session or a few session therapy and then you're cured. It usually is something you do carry it for a lifetime, grief is something you carry with you for your whole life, and it's really how you manage it through your life. So that's going to be interesting how they're going to use her character to portray that. Because for us, for people, like until now, I lost my dad in 2013, so that's now 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. 8 years now. 8 years, but that's still something I carry with me. That I had that grief. I had that emotional baggage of losing a father while I was still in college. So grief is a process. Grief is something you will carry, and that's why we get to see Wanda now carry that through her life, because it was really flushed out very well. Everything was revealed, so that was really cool.
I completely assessment with regard to the Scarlet Witch. I actually like the non Halloween episode where Wanda was wearing the bright red color, original comic book color.
Yeah.
And
Sokovian fortune teller.
Sokovian fortune teller. And it's funny that they keep joking about her accent coming in and out because it comes in and it's still coming in and out. And I think it's so that big reveal when she finally got into the Scarlet Witch costume. Although I wish it could have been a little bit brighter. I like the costume, but I wish it was a little bit brighter. It was too dark. Although I saw a side-by-side a picture of her costume and the Michael Fassbender Magneto costume. They're very similar. If you see it, you'll see it. It's so similar.
Yep, Magneto nod.
Yes.
Daddy.
Daddy issues. And Marvel is being so vague about it because I think in the current canon, Magneto's no longer the dad of Wanda.
Yeah, that's actually true. So confusing.
But anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, so I really like the costume. It's sad that at the end that she chose to be on her own. I think she's still processing the grief. She's still coming to terms of what she did, because I think that's also part of the thing that she needs to process as well. Is she actually enslaved the whole town?
Yeah.
Because by nature, Wanda is a good woman by nature, good person by nature. So what she did is probably also affecting her psyche. She sees herself, and I think that it's not a good time for her to be alone. I think that's really what I want to say. I personally, I have also experienced that brought me out was not people talking to me about what I should be doing, just being there. Being there, guiding me in the direction, but overall being their presence being there. And with Wanda being on her own, and then the only influence that she has is the Darkhold, which we all know is demonic and evil. I can see in the future where probably there's still going to be a lot of still not being built up as more of someone who is going to do more harmful things before things better. And I guess it's kind of in line with how Wanda was written in the comic books as well, where there was a period in time, especially if in Marvel Avengers Disassembled, if I remember correctly, she killed some of the Avengers. We later find out that it actually was due to the manipulation, evil manipulation. And I'm seeing something of that regard. Maybe not won't probably kill Avengers, but probably gonna cause more havoc because of those magic powers, and she might harm more people. And I can actually see where in her quest to recover her sons, Billy and Tommy, like a chase through the multiverse. I feel like there's like that setup where you see Wanda going through the multiverse realities, trying to revive her children, and Doctor Strange trying to stop her, chasing after her, trying to stop her. Because the more that she's doing that, the more that all the other realities are going into chaos, right? So I can actually see something of that nature. So it's kind of exciting at the same time how they're building it up, but at the same time, come on, Marvel, tell us what's going to happen. don't bait us with that. And I hated it that even in the promos they kept showing Doctor Strange back in some of the promos of WandaVision, as if he was going to appear, and he never appeared. And I'm like, come on, was Benedict Cumberbatch so expensive that you couldn't get him for like a 15-second cameo, 30-second cameo, or even just a post-credit scene?
Yeah, or even just a portal, like what you said. I think I agree completely, because she is completely isolating herself, and that is dangerous when you're mentally and emotionally unstable, and you know that it's actually the most dangerous thing to isolate yourself. That's gonna make things worse. Having a book that's called the Book of the Damned. So I think that's gonna make things a whole lot worse. And the fact is also she's met Doctor Strange twice, in the battle and then in the funeral. So they were the same place. So she could have gone to him. She knew, like, especially the number of wizards she was able to see from that battle. But she is choosing to isolate herself, and we're gonna see more of that, I'm sure.
Trying to take things in her own hands, right? That actually at the end of Avengers Endgame, during the Battle of Avengers, there when she faces Thanos, blames Thanos for taking everything from her, and she goes like, you will understand who I am." She gives off that vibe that I will take care of everything. I will do everything on my own, with my own powers. And at first, was actually doing well, because even in the episode where we see that Wanda went to the Sword headquarters, we see that she didn't actually go assaulting anyone there.
Yeah,
she was actually keeping herself in check. She was trying to keep her in check, but we don't process grief and we don't process discouragement, and we don't face them head on. Then the emotions just build up. And honestly, it never works. We tell people that they have to handle their emotions, but actually, if you don't handle emotions, you handle the thoughts that come along with the emotions. That's where you process it. And if you don't, then your emotions just will go on. That's where we see Wanda here, and she's in a very unstable position. Right? She needs friends. She needs a support group. She should have gone back to the Avengers, I think. Because technically they haven't been disbanded. They're together. As of the end of Endgame, they're together. She should have even stayed with Clint, with Hawkeye, because Hawkeye knows that feeling of pain and loss, losing his wife and kids. At least they were restored, right? But he also lost Black Widow, right? Natasha. So he knows that feeling. He knows that there is some sort of like uncle niece relationship between the two. You see that, right? They play that off in Age of Ultron. So, and as Christians, we can never really underestimate the power of a support group. Estimate the power of someone who is just there for you, live with you, give direction or advice when necessary, when prompted. Wanda doesn't have any of that. And I thought that she was going through. Oh, she's going to recover from this. She's gonna get help from friends, you know. And Monica was there, ready to help her, but you know, she decided to still do it on her own. More of the consequence of upcoming.
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said. It's really, really hard to be alone. And even especially us as Christians, we don't. It's such a danger sometimes when I hear Christians do separate their emotional and spiritual health. Like God made us as emotional beings, so you also have to take care of that. Your mental health, your emotional health. You have to be holistic when you really handle that, because there's so much to deal with. That's why also the function of our small groups are not only for your spiritual feeding, but also to help you emotionally and even mentally. You have that support group that you build up to really get through all these things, especially when grief happens, discouragement, the bad stuff.
Yeah. The power of the support behind you process your grief, process your. Who is there going to tell you that spend some time reading something inspirational like the Bible? Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna remind us to? Bible says, you know, if there is anything excellent or praise, think of such things. And I think like one of the things that I cover from my depression was to get into the right mind, get to of the things that are excellent, the things of hope, because you the thing Wanda did not have. That's actually what really hurt me and that made me cry. I felt I felt her pain. I felt that she had lost all hope. And she had created this fantasy world so that she can have a semblance of that hope again, but only for her to realize that she cannot live in this fantasy world. And so she has to sacrifice that hope again. You know, sacrifice her children, sacrifice vision, that wonderful life that she had dreamt up of. But we also know that, you know, she couldn't stay that way, obviously. And stay in that fantasy world. At the same time, I felt that I already built up something here, and for only for it to be taken away again. So I really felt that pain, and I agree. I cried that part where, as the hex was closing into the house, and you know, when Vision and Wanda were talking, Vision was disappearing slowly. I could feel that pain well up, because I knew that she was experiencing that pain again, and that's the problem. Not really has processed it, and when she walked back into town and the people were looking at her, they were looking at her as a villain. That does something to us, the psyche of a person. That does something to how she sees herself, and I really felt like, wow. If only God existed in this world. You know that there was that moment. If only God existed in this world.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's gonna be so. It was brave of Marvel to really handle her character and reveal more about that mental health struggle. That was such a deep dive into more again, mental health issues. It's something that's relevant right now, especially at home, and it was so interesting to get to go through her grief while in her home, while we're all stuck at home as well. So I think it was really a great timing for WandaVision to come out at a time that we're also in quarantine. So the timing couldn't be better, while people could also process the fact that they're also stuck in their own bubbles, but that you have to really face reality at the end of the day. And that's what Wanda had to do at the end of the series, was really face reality as it is. Even the loss of her hope, when she said, "You are my love, you are my hope," to Vision. And as you said, losing hope can do a lot of things to someone. Losing hope. And when she ran away, she just basically bottled it up again and ran away. And okay, I'll just go study the Darko. Then I have all this power now. And that's even more scary that she has an even better grasp that she has reality warping powers.
And if I'm not mistaken, in that post-credit scene, she is by the Wondergore Mountain. So, which is in her comic book origins was where she was originally. So, we'll see where that leads. Yes, there's just one other thing that I wanted to bring up before, which was the other post-credit scene with Monica and what did you think about that review?
I'm excited. It's building up so much and really going really fast. I think Marvel's gonna be like in the way they're structuring their universe right now with movies, and in between you have these TV shows and even the makings. If you've seen or if you've looked up the lineup for episodes and series, like the entire year is gonna be covered in Marvel. Like they're really allowing fans to not stop watching anything that's coming from them. Like after Winter Soldier and Falcon, I think we're getting Black Widow, and then after Black Widow we're gonna get Loki. After Loki we're gonna get Shang-Chi. After Shang-Chi we're gonna get I forgot which one was coming out, Miss Marvel or Moon Knight, and then we're gonna get Spider-Man at the end of the year. So I'm really excited because they're really building up that universe so fast, because the Skrull reveal was pretty much a direct tie into Captain Marvel 2, or even Nick Fury and the Secret Invasion, which is also going to be a series they're coming out in. So I'm so excited. Like they're going to space now, and there's more to come. So good job, Kevin Feige. I hope your life is long enough to succeed in, like, imagine the brain power that they have to use to form that universe, that everything has to tie into and everything.
Kevin Feige is turning out to be like the Stan Lee of the MCU. If Stan Lee was for the comics, you have Kevin Feige of MCU. And I would like actually to see him start appearing in cameos too.
That would be cool, with a different cap every day. This cap is dedicated to Kevin Feige because I always see you in a ball cap. So this Marvel ball cap is for you. More power.
Kevin Feige, if you ever watch this video. Hi, and we're open for sponsorships. Just kidding. So
Comment
anyway,
below if you're watching Kevin Feige. The heart would be good.
So anyway, personally for me, I'm excited because it's I feel like it's a direct tie-in to Secret Invasion, and I'm curious as how they're gonna roll it out, because you've already been introduced to the Skrulls as a peaceful alien race. They haven't been introduced as villains like they have been introduced comic books. So it's kind of curious how they're actually going to roll it out. Personally, I think there's going to be a separate faction of Skrulls, might be trying to fade, and this is Nick Fury and his group of Skrulls are going to try to stop that, maybe, or maybe there might be an invasion of Kree again. We don't know. We really haven't heard. I think the last from the they really were not, as we heard from them was in Captain Marvel, if I remember correctly. We're still operating during the time of Ronan the Accuser. Even during Thanos, there's no mention of Thanos going to Kree. So theoretically, they should still be an existing race. They should still actually trying to get Skrulls, and they're like a fundamentalist terrorist group of Skrulls wants to use like Earth as a base of operations to get back at the Kree. So then be another Kree Skrull war. I'm actually excited how they're going to play this out. And everybody knows that the Skrulls exist. I mean, Jimmy Woo was writing on the whiteboard talking about Skrulls, ? Meaning to say they are actually aware of the Skrulls. Unlike before that it was with knowledge, they are now aware. And I'm sure Sword is aware that Sword used to go into space. So I feel that Fury's group is still Sword, but they're a different faction of Sword compared to that was left back on Earth. So, which would also explain why Monica had access to Sword technology outside of Hayward's group, right? Remember that what's that truck thing that was Sword? Well, yeah, I'm excited for that. If we're gonna talk about space, then you have to bring in the Fantastic Four. I think that's essential, and I'm excited for how they will do the Fantastic Four because, and the last one, I thought they were going to do a good job because it was the Ultimates version of Fantastic Four. It was so bad.
I was heartbroken at that one. Even the name reveal, fantastic. Okay.
And for stick.
Doctor Doom. What did they do to Doctor Doom? One of the most complex and most intriguing villains of the Marvel universe, and they really.
And in fact, Doctor Doom is the one villain and I've been waiting for to appear. And actually, because while Doctor Doom finds its origins a lot of times in Fantastic Four, he has appeared as a villain, as a franchise villain. He has appeared in almost all of Marvel franchises as a villain reckoned with. And I would even say that he probably a Thanos level villain, right? And so to not see him appear, and Doctor Doom, all I can say is, why hasn't he appeared? The fact that
Oh, go.
I was about to say, the fact that the Avengers went to Sokovia, which is so close to his home nation of Latveria. Come on! Are you saying that Doctor Doom would have not interfered in Sokovia? Seriously? Doctor Doom deserves his time. Yeah. And he is one of the worst villains. I mean, even in the comic book series when they did the for Marvel's comic book series, in the what's the name of that series where he was the Doctor Doom was the ruler Battle World when he was the ruler of the Battle World. Right?
God King Doom, all white King Doom.
I mean, that just shows how big a villain Doctor Doom is beyond the Fantastic Four, and then we don't see him at all. 20-something movies later and a few series later, we still don't see him.
And let's hope he shows up in Multiverse of Madness.
I hope he does.
He worked a lot with Doctor Strange, right? So maybe that's how they can introduce him.
Actually, I was half expecting Reed Richards would appear in WandaVision.
The aerospace engineer. The dreaded aerospace engineer that went whoosh.
How many aerospace engineers do we know?
Yeah. We'll see. I'm still hoping John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Credence, who still hoping for that.
Actually, there are a lot of characters hoping to come back. Like for example, in Thor, I hope to see Sif again. Sif just disappeared there, and it was mentioned she didn't die in Ragnarok. Sif must be somewhere.
There's rumors she's coming back for Thor: Love and Thunder, but so far it's still rumors since she is alive. I think there were scheduling conflicts. That's why she didn't show up in Ragnarok. But hopefully they revive her character. She's a wonderful actress.
Yeah, there are a lot of characters that actually, and Feige's funny because he's announcing that they're going to appear on these movies and in these shows, but it's like years away. I mean, even Natalie Portman coming back as Jane Foster and being the new Thor. Like how long do we have to wait? You announced that like a few years ago, and we have to wait 4 years to come before it actually appears on screen. So
yep, such a painful wait when they laid out Phase 4 in that video, that long video where you can see years of projects. And that's not even the entire Phase 4. Like, oh...
I'm even looking towards Guardians of the Galaxy, where it actually becomes as Guardians of the Galaxy. So, because with Thor, with them, there's a lot of possibilities. And Kevin Feige is the kind of guy that likes to stick to comic book stories, meaning to say he really likes to base his world building based on what is already established in the comic. So it would be very interesting to see gonna flesh out these. So, yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. Anyway, thank you so much, James, for joining me tonight. I think we exhausted a lot of the theories and a lot of our expectations for the show. Definitely a lot to look forward to. And for me, I guess it's while we are here in lockdown, there's a lot of pandemic. Because of the pandemic, there's a lot of things to watch and process. I think it's a good idea if when we take a look at art like comic books, art like movies and TV shows, and how it imitates life. And really looking through it as well from a Christian perspective, from a sense of a believer. We actually understand more about ourselves and about our lives. In the case of Wanda, where we see really it's a look into mental health. It's a look into how people go through grief. How it's so important for us to process grief in a way that is healthy, that way that is purposeful and productive. That if we bottle things up, if we don't deal with our problems, we don't deal with our issues, then it just might blow up, might just become bigger, and there are consequences.
When you have superpowers, the consequences could be reality. Or I agree. And again, like what you said, these art forms are really here to help us process our own lives, to look through different lenses and look through different perspectives. And as Christians, you really will get a lot from learning and absorbing what you can, the good, of course, and really try to improve yourself day by day. It's not for anyone watching who's going through grief, who's going through their own bouts right now, whether it's depression, anxiety. I as a counselor here in Bukidnon, very far away, again encourage that help is always available. There are always people who are willing to listen. There are people who are willing to connect with you. Don't believe the lies that there's no one that you can talk to. There's no one that will understand. We all go through those things, especially those in the Christian faith. If you're a Christian who's going through depression, anxiety, talk to someone. Counseling is such a wonderful way to get through those things and to get better, to heal.
Amen. I really agree. I think that's where we have to really, we're not alone. And then at the end of the day, there's God.
Yes.
What He says to all believers. I think that is something that we have to remember as believers. And if you are suffering, talk to someone. You will be surprised that they might actually and actually understand you more than you could possibly think. Right, so with that, we'll close this out, and thank you so much, James, for joining me today. It'll be hopefully you watch through the entire thing. I know it's a bit long, but it was fun. I really enjoyed talking in Greece, and and again, art form is a way for us. It's a great way for us to understand other people. It's something that we throw away as one form of, that's just for kids, or that's demonic, or that's something like this. Don't stereotype it, because it's always a way for us to see a perspective that is different from Thank you so much for listening in, and if you like this video, make sure to like this video on the like button down below, click subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications of new videos. That's it from us tonight. See you soon. Bye-bye.